I have been reading a lot of these reports from some very large players from TradFi, not from crypto, but from TradFi. We're talking about Citi, we're talking about JP Morgan, we're talking about asset management companies, and every single one of these reports, what we are starting to see is the biggest financial giants in the world saying that over the next 3, 4, 5+ years, we are going to see not just stablecoins, because I know on the screen right now you see stablecoins. We are going to see the entire crypto space erupt in a much larger way. But the biggest thing that a lot of people are failing to realize is that it's not going to be around specific assets. What does that mean? We are talking about utility-based crypto projects. Let's dive on in real quick, and let's first start off with this Citibank prediction. Stablecoins will expand beyond crypto trading and become part of mainstream economy. The next 5 years will likely see stablecoins substitute for some overseas and domestic US currency holdings, according to a Citi Future Finance report. Very interesting. Now, if we look at this, we have with regulatory support. That's the thing that we're actually looking at here. Okay, because if we're starting to see this big focus put on how successful stablecoins will be because of, the regulatory support, imagine how successful the utility-based crypto projects in this space will be with regulatory clarity. But we have stablecoins will grow to 1.6 trillion by 2030, according to Citi's base case scenario, with a more bullish prediction pegged to $3.7 trillion. Crypto custody firm Fireblocks noted a swing in stablecoin use away from trading settlements or on and off-ramp trading tool towards payments. Now, on top of that, we have that the stablecoin market could soon eclipse the entire crypto trading ecosystem that gave birth to it, as regulatory tailwinds allow for the integration of the fixed value tokens into the mainstream economy, according to predictions from global bank Citi. Now, when we're thinking about all of this, right, what this is telling us is that we're going to see the entire space of networks and the network tokens in which these stablecoins are moving over also erupt with stablecoin volume and value. We are going to see stablecoins integrated into the system. We are seeing this being confirmed from the global head of future of finance at Citi. This is crazy to see. The fact that we have confirmation like this, and the fact that stablecoins are going to be as big as they are, tells us everything that we need to know about these utility-based projects. And what do I mean by that? Well, if stablecoins are going to be successful, that means the underlying networks in which they're moving over will be very successful. And we already know that Ripple is positioning XRP and the XRPL for institutional DeFi initiatives, tokenization initiatives as well, and they already launched RLUSD on the XRP ledger as well. But it doesn't stop at stablecoins. Like I said, institutional adoption is growing significantly around the entire crypto space, as you guys can just read from all of these breakdowns that have happened over the last roughly 3, 4, 5 months. Crypto adoption just continues to accelerate. And it's all from the institutional side. But on top of this, we go over here to what just recently happened. BlackRock. BlackRock met with the SEC. And this is $10 trillion asset manager, right? BlackRock. To talk about staking, options, tokenization, and even ETF approval standards. Again, when we're thinking about what's going on right now, the biggest players around finance, Wall Street themselves, are all flooding in to prepare and tap into specific initiatives within crypto. And we still have retail considering if they should be bullish or not. How crazy is that? Now, if we go over here to this post from Zonix, we have the SEC Gov has taken another significant step forward for tokenized securities. Today, May 12th, the US SEC is hosting a key roundtable, Tokenization Moving Assets On-Chain, where TradFi and DeFi meet at 1 p.m. This comes right after Commissioner Hester Peirce's powerful remarks on why well-balanced, lighter touch regulation is essential for innovation and how DLT-based markets can create fairer, more efficient access to capital and prosperity. The SEC is now exploring conditional exemptions and regulatory sandboxes to allow the issuance, trading, and settlement of RWAs on-chain. This could finally unlock large-scale adoption, giving institutions and investors a safe, compliant way to access tokenized assets with real value and in liquidity. It's the infrastructure shift needed to move trillions of dollars into blockchain-based markets. Now, what's significant about all of this is that we are now starting to see the biggest players giving legitimacy to this technology, to these initiatives like tokenization. And the fact that we have BlackRock as well as Wall Street, it's not just BlackRock here, right? This roundtable includes so many big players. We are watching as Wall Street and as the biggest financial giants are flipping the switch towards tokenization and digital asset initiatives, tapping into DLT, tapping into blockchain. This is a massive paradigm shift. Now, on top of this, we go over here to an update that we recently got on May 9th, which was new. Florida pharma firm Logistics to use XRP for real-time payments in a $50 million financing deal, aiming to cut banking delays, FX cost, and boost supply chain efficiency. Now you might say, well, this doesn't really matter. You could say that, sure. But when we think about how big this announcement actually is, we go over here to my post, which was, people in this space are still questioning if utility means anything or if it's even a real thing. Those people are obviously missing the big picture or are stuck on the Bitcoin train. I outlined a ton of projects here, and so many others will be extremely valuable. Once we shift from the hype and speculative value drivers to utility-based value drivers, the real value is unlocked. You must be a visionary in this space. It's crucial, especially when coupled with proper research. I look forward to the future, especially one where DLT and blockchain is powering the world. And you might say, well, Nick, this means absolutely nothing. Again, when we think about what's going on here, utility is being rewarded. How do we know? Well, if you think about, for example, Franklin Templeton, right? Tokenized hundreds of millions of dollars on Stellar. Guys, these institutional players are tapping into specific networks, and they're just initially testing with, a few $100 million. But at some point in time, and that some point in time, I don't think is too far off, probably the next 12 to 24 months, we are going to start to see billions of dollars flooding on chain, followed by trillions, which won't take that much long after we start to see the first, few billion released on chain. But what's crazier about all of this is that, we're ushering into a regulated age, right? And we go and look at this post, which was XRP adds nearly $100 billion since Ripple's first major victory in SEC case. Okay, we saw the market cap change, which was 235%. We also saw the price change, which was 200%. What I find crazy about this is just off of that first major victory back in 2023. What we just recently got was the announcement of, the settlement agreement letter. I wonder what's going to happen once we see the SEC Gov finally announce that this case is done. But what I look forward to more is what happens after. because we're already on a massive path towards institutional and enterprise grade adoption. What does it mean for an institutional player to see that something like XRP has 100% regulatory clarity and immense value from the utility side of it? And we already know that the utility side of XRP is very valuable because we've heard from Ripple, we've heard from companies that tapped into Ripple, we've heard from big banks that have confirmed it through POC trials. This is why I still am focused on this lawsuit, because we are ushering into a utility age at the same exact time that we're starting to see some of the biggest moves happening around the regulatory side. And also, when we look at what's going on here, look at what's happening from these big players in the space like Bitwise, right? We're starting to see more access to crypto than ever before become a reality. And it's through TradFi giants. Even Matt, the CIO of Bitwise, recently put out a post talking about what has happened in the last 24 hours on the 8th, highlighting Robinhood moving, towards this space to, let Europeans trade US stocks on Solana or even Arbitrum. Like, think about how crazy this is. Trading stocks on public blockchain networks. And also, SEC Commissioner Hester Pierce also gave a speech about allowing stocks to be issued, traded, and settled on blockchains. And Superstate announcing a platform allowing companies to issue and trade tokenized shares on Ethereum and Solana. Wall Street is moving on chain. Finance is moving on chain. It's only a matter of time until we start to see, trillions. We're talking even the FX market, $7.5 trillion per day. 1% of that, 2%. Even if we saw just 1% of that market moving over this space, we're not just talking about XRP, just this entire space, every single day, that would cause an eruption of value and volume across the board, surging the value of all of these, crypto projects. I think people underestimate the network effects that some of these markets moving on chain will do. I'm looking back at the utility side, right? And it's not just about how efficient XRP is to move, value around the world. It's also how efficient the underlying DLT, the XRP ledger, actually is as well. Guys, use cases are exploding in this space. Humanitarian aid, cross-border payments, FX market transactions, tokenization initiatives, yield generation initiatives. All of this stuff is still at the beginning stage of adoption and utilization. We're celebrating $20+ billion on chain around tokenized, assets. Guys, the total addressable market is in the quadrillions of dollars. When we think about what's happening here, institutional adoption is heating up. Stablecoins are heating up in a big way. They're being tapped in. We now have massive financial giants meeting with the SEC to discuss staking options, tokenization, and even ETF discussions. But the main focus here is the fact that we now have crypto on public stage with the biggest asset management companies, biggest financial giants, Wall Street themselves, at a time where they're preparing to bring Wall Street on chain. Utility has to be focused on. And it's what's going to make XRP, as well as a lot of these great utility-based projects in the space, extremely valuable. And what's left from the regulatory, push will only be utility-based projects that have real-world value tied to them. Now is the time to lock in and officially pay attention to what's going on from some of these big giants and what they're telling you. These reports are so crucial to focus on. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. And with that being said, guys, this has been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.